So Mike Hardy, raise your hand, Mike Hardy, raise your hand. Like he's like, we have a mission, right? The mission is to keep you somewhat entertained between this and drinks and beer and wine and tea, if you please. So we'll try to make this, let's just say, like quick and deadly, right? So that it can be a fun and entertaining time for all of us. Good. All right. So a few points that I'll be touching here today. Essentially around automation. So different aspects of automation and why we should worry about automation. And automation is something that I am especially passionate about, right? If I was looking for, like, what are the first mentions of automation in our world, right? And the first mention of automation that actually existed was in the book Iliad by Homer. And he mentioned in his book that, and he actually invented this god that will have some tripods and wheels, and this god will, let's say, let people get in and out of the gathering of the gods as they wanted. So this is the first idea of automation. So I think like this. So in a fictitious book, written around possibly around 3,000 years ago, maybe to 2,800 years ago, someone came up with the idea of automating a task. As let's say, as stupid as like letting gods come in and out of a room, right? And so this is what happened. So Hephaestus built automatons of metal to work for him, right? And yet we think that we still need to be convinced that we need to do automation on our work, right? So let's talk a little bit about how is that related to digital transformation. If you know this page, I know this is a very polluted page, right? But I'm going to make it easier for you to understand. Any of you here in financial services, financial sector? Okay, so got a few hands, very good, right? So you may know this. Good. So internet is going to cooperate. So this is the Wells Fargo web page that I'm opening here right now, right? It's like pretty much a standard financial services web page. They have all the products and services that they offer, right? And this, what you see here, is all the competitors in fintech that are doing the exact same services that Wells Fargo are doing. But they are companies focused in one or two or maybe a few single types of products and investments. They're often smaller companies and not so restricted by regulations, because the amount of regulations is also tied to the type of businesses you're in. So if you have more products and services, you're likely going to be more regulation and under more scrutiny, right? So this is an example in financial services. Now let's think about healthcare, right? I know there are big healthcare providers. Maybe the reality here in Canada, it's a little bit different. But there are sure lots of healthcare providers. You can do private healthcare in Canada as well. And we saw one example, which was Optum. Like, they have IT service for healthcare provider, and they really identified that, like, if we are not able to act as fast and as innovative as all these other companies, like, we will be in serious trouble, right? So this is the same industry, the same story that we saw for banking. So we have now the smaller companies focused on solving a problem, often a bit smaller than the larger healthcare corporations. And if we go a little bit outside of especially doing IT services and we think about products, this is happening the exact same way. I'm personally a user of Harry's. They have shaving blades, and every 3 months or so, they send me a new package of blades. You know, like, I can skip the blades whenever I want. But just imagine that Procter & Gamble, they have to face competition with companies that are focused in one market with one solution, and they can pivot, they can innovate, and they can become more effective in this one special market. If you remember an announcement made, I think a little bit over a year ago, a company, Gillette, acquired a company called Dollar Shave Club, I think, for $1 billion, right? So imagine, like, how threatened Gillette felt by a company that was a little bit small, and they were just shipping blades to your house. That was worth a $1 billion acquisition, right? And we think for us, when it comes to me, it's exactly like this. It may be the case that you are, let's say, on the disruptor side of the story. You are actually disrupting others. So this is great, you know. You're really doing this. But the majority of the companies, they are actually not. And for them, the ability to react the ability to act fast on new trends equals revenue, right? Because that revenue was going to be taken or is going to be taken by someone else specialized on that specific area of the business. So, and this is something I wrote today. I think people talk a lot about digital transformation, and I know like Brent, where are you? So I was able to add animation to my slides, so I know you weren't to 2 hours, but as you can see, like the number of retweets. But I think some people see like digital transformation as another initiative just like others. And for me, it should be more about like digital survival than digital transformation, because it would then have a more, let's say, pervasive and important impact. So I really would believe that companies should talk more about like, we need actually more of a survival strategy than a transformation strategy at the moment. And I've been a developer pretty much all my life. So software engineering, doing software engineering for most companies. And the developers, in my opinion, they were always on the good side of things, right? Because I was working 9 to 5, I was doing engineering a few times a year. Actually, I would stay late doing engineering, maybe close to a release or not. I would stay weekends, a few weekends or not. But my job was pretty much, I think, fairly predictable, fairly easy to do decent engineering work, would be recognized of that. And whenever I had a release, whenever we had something to ship, then something happened. Then my operators always felt that we were killing them. Because I was shipping a piece of code, and then as a result, that person would have to stay late. That person would have to work on Windows, on weekends. Not Windows, well, still, maybe that as well. But work on weekends, be on call, and I was at home doing nothing, right? I was, okay, my job here is done. I'm a developer. I committed the code, it's in the repository, my job is done. And I liked how the last presentation ended, is like, people need to talk. And this really bothers me, right? Because how do you expect in your company, and I really like, how do you expect people to have a good relationship or how do you expect operators to like devs if the success of a developer is the failure of the operator? Right? If a good result of the developer means that now the operator or the person installing will have to stay weekends. Like, that will not create a healthy relationship ever. Because when I finish my job, I'm just saying, you're now screwed because I finished my job and you're going to have to stay late and you're going to have to work on weekends. And that only happens because we have not really embraced automation in our work, right? And this is crazy. Like, we have people doing tasks that can be automated. All of them. I know it was just, I'm going to do an example here later on, but like to create a route, a DNS addressable route. Like, we have to open a ticket. We have to wait 5 days. Just yesterday, one of our customers said, for us it takes 5 days to open a route. I said, like, really? Like, to open a route, something that can be 100% and completely automated, you have to have someone touching something to do it. It does not make sense, right? And then how do you want to automate? Like, how do you expect to be effective if you're not working on automation of even the most simple tasks? I mean, I don't understand, to be honest, right? And this is not a real gun, by the way, just in case you get bothered by guns. And as organizations grow with more developers, the pressure on the operators become even bigger, right? If you ask someone from a development team or someone from engineering, like, say, like, what do you work here, right? And you often hear, like, I'm helping the company run their business, right? I'm producing software that's running the business. If you ask someone from like a traditional IT ops team, that person will say, like, what do you do here? I'm also helping the company run their business and become more efficient. Yet you treat developers and operators as if they were enemies of themselves. And I can't say this enough. This should not be the case. This should not be the case. There should be automation enough in place that operators they do not have to suffer whenever developers finish their work, right? If you're let's say, how many of you are actually developers or the traditional engineers here? All have been at a part in your life, right? Is it fair to say most of you are on the upside, right? Possibly, right? So, and I know it bothers. So, and there are tools, there are different technology trends that you can use, but I'm going to go back and forth a little bit in the slides. And we've heard the story of Airbnb. You have the story of Netflix. We've heard the story of Uber, how they disrupt their markets, right? And I think there's one point interesting here about these three companies is that, for me, in my opinion, they have businesses that are much less complex than yours, right? People say, they say good things about Uber or Lyft. I was just watching a recent talk by an engineer in Lyft, and he said, like, oh, we had to integrate 100 different applications. So, okay, 100 different applications. I was talking to a financial services customer. He had 6,000 applications, right? So we often have like people make us think that we have to be exactly like these companies, right? Oh, we need to be as fast as we need to be, let's say, as efficient. But they are solving different problems than the majority of us. The problems that they are solving here is not necessarily in how complex the organizations are, but it's actually web scale. It's more scale than other things. So. I start to see another category of companies, which we call the evolvers, right? So, and these are all examples of customers that are running OpenShift, right? Because they wanted to be more effective in the way they engage to their customers. So one of the examples here is Volvo, so the car configuration application that runs on either mobile or on the web, that runs on OpenShift. KeyBank, I'll talk a little bit about KeyBank later, but they also run on OpenShift. Connected Drive from IBM cars. From BMW. BMW cars also runs on OpenShift, the backend. If we're going to book a train ticket in Switzerland or around Europe from Swiss Rail, that runs on OpenShift. And Amadeus has been a big partner of Red Hat, a big user of OpenShift and customer. They also run pretty much all their business into OpenShift. Fun fact here that hopefully you can read is that for every single booking that happens, there's more than 100,000 transactions, right? So if you booked a seat, likely 100,000 transactions happen. And when I saw that, I said, like, that doesn't make much sense. Like 100,000 transactions, like that's a lot. I get that like has to go through multiple systems, like payment systems and like revenue recognition systems. But then I thought, like, how many times do I search a flight before I actually buy it? You know, and I personally do a lot. Even if I'm buying for a business, I actually search different flight options, different times, different routes. So I can see that this number is pretty much accurate, right? Automation for me, as I said, like it really bothers me, and there are multiple things that bother me. So I'm gonna jump and do a quick demo here just to make this more interesting. So what I have here, it's OpenShift running on my laptop, right? I'm gonna say this again. So I have here is OpenShift running on my laptop, right? So I have it running in my laptop, which is, it's a Mac, it's a decent laptop, maybe 8 gigs of RAM, right? But I have an OpenShift running a virtual machine. I have here running my laptop the same product that's going to run my production applications, right? And it was this Tuesday, we're talking to a few friends in Montreal. They said, oh, our applications, we do development of our applications, so we develop in Tomcat, but then when we put them in production, we have to put them in Webster because that's the company policy, right? And I lived this myself, that we were developing one thing, and then I would running one thing. And I say, like, why do we accept this in IT? Why in IT it's okay? I would not buy a car that was not tested in real roads. But in IT, we think it's fine. Oh, it's totally fine. I'm going to do this, which is nothing related to the production environment. Has nothing to do, but it's fine to do the development because it's going to be someone else's problem, right? So when it's someone else's problem, you create friction. You don't foster a good relationship between the teams. So for me, it's crazy, right? You are using one application to run, one environment to run, and it's like on the production, it's completely different. And you expect it to be fine, and you expect it to be all right. You know what happens? When someone in operations or even security sees and understands that the environments are different, what happens? More processes, more policies, more gates, more things that you have to approve, more documents. Why? Because they know that they are the ones that are going to suffer when there are new changes. I know that when you bring me a new release, that you develop this thing in something that looks nothing like our production environment. So I'm going to put a lot of processes on you. I'm going to make sure you verify lots of things, fill lots of documents. The documents made sense. They are likely asking reasonable questions about the content, about if the processes for development have been followed, but still. So you're not going to become innovative that way. I'm sorry. You are not going to. Right? So if this is your scenario, it's a sad story. Like, you need to be automating. Why do we accept that automation is good in all the industries but not ours? Why do we accept this? Right? Why do we accept that it's okay to have a car almost completely built by machines, but in our industry now it's fine. We don't need automations. We can put humans. It's going to be fine. Right? Have you heard of the GitLab failure recently? If you heard, like, GitLab went down, what happened? Someone restored the wrong database, right? Like, someone was executing the command restoring the wrong database. If you heard of the S3 outage recently, that impacted much more people, where the monitoring for S3 was running on S3, which is weird, right? So when it went down, and it went down because, again, someone executed a set of tasks on the wrong environment, lots of things started to go down. Pretty much half of the internet in US East went down for a while. All those that relied on S3 for any object storage. Again, a human task, something that could likely have been automated, right? And when they wrote about it, they said publicly that those scripts, they had not been run for 2 years, right? That they had not had to do that operation for a long 2 years. So, and this is like a company that's seen as innovative, right? And we think that we don't need to do this ourselves. So it really bothers me. So I'm going to do like one simple thing here, right? Hopefully you'll be able to understand what's going on. So I have two different applications. They are very simple applications. They are simple in purpose because the objective here is not to prove that I can run complex applications, right? So I have this web page here that's don't worry about the text, but just see that like it's the background is gray. I have another one here that the background is green, right? So pretty much basic. So the URLs for both of them are different. So this is green project, right? And this is gray project. So as you can see, they have different URLs, right? So I'm going to do something that I know it's a pain for some of you. I'm going to create a new route for my application. So I'm going to applications, routes. I'm going to create a new route. And this is going to be the other route. Right? I'm going to open shift, figure out how the exact address of the route should be. Okay, good. Oh, okay, good. So the other route. And I'm pointing this route to the gray service. So I should get a gray page, right? Let me just access the route. There you go, gray page, right? So was it simple? Why does it have to be complex then? Why the company I talked to Tuesday had to open a ticket, wait 5 days, get into a queue to do this, right? I know there are processes that you have to put in place. Likely you have to verify if there's nothing with that route. But you're saying that cannot be automated then as well, right? So I don't get this. And this is a fairly, very, very simple story, right? I'm just creating a route for application. Why does it have to be complex? I'm going to make something more interesting. Go back to OpenShift. I'm going to take this route, which is the other route. I'm going to edit this route. As you can see here, there's this nice, interesting feature here, which says split traffic across multiple services. Interesting. So it's going to get the traffic and split it across. So I have service. I'm going to split traffic across different services. So now I can choose like the request where traffic is going to go to for each request. I'm going to leave it 50%. Maybe that's going to make it easier to test, right? So good. So I have now this very, very nice graph here saying that I have two routes. I have one route. They're different, both going to different services, service gray and service green. I have my very nice graph showing that. If I come to my overview page, I can see that I have traffic being split between my two routes. Let's try that, right? Well, let's see if that's really the case. I'm going to open a new web page here, incognito mode, just to make sure that I can test this. All right, so I'm going to put this here. Oh, sorry, wrong address. All right, let's put this here. This is it. So I'm just going to disable cookies, and there you go. I have green. Refresh, gray, refresh, green, refresh, gray, refresh, green. So have you heard of A/B testing, right? If you've heard of A/B testing, it's when you have a new feature of your application, and you want to test it, for example, 5% of people. So like, this is how easy it is to do A/B testing with tools that allow you to do automation, right? So in this case, I could have said, you know, actually 5% of the traffic is going to go to the green one. 95% of the traffic is going to go to the, let's say, to the real or the gray one. And whenever I'm feeling that I'm fine with this proportion, that the features that I have available on the green are good to go, I can just slide the window. Or I can have something that does this automatically and then make it what was 5 to become 100%, right? So like, why do we suffer? Why for other industries, again, why for other industries okay to automate, and for us, we still think we should not. We don't need to automate, right? Remember, in a fictitious book, someone created a fictitious God that would automate opening the gates or not, and yet we don't want to do this for ourselves. All right. So these are some of the examples of companies, or let's say, or technologies that are, let's say, services or industries that are using OpenShift to run their applications today, right? I just went through some of the public references that we have for Canada, and the ones that spoke at conferences about the use of OpenShift. And I found that, I'm sure there are more. I spent like only maybe 10 minutes looking. These are all companies, and you saw some of them here, like you saw CBC, you saw you saw TELUS and Rogers talking about the uses of OpenShift. So these are examples of a few companies that are using OpenShift to run their applications and to become the evolvers, right? And to become the evolvers, there are ways you can do it, right? You can do that using what they call mode 1, mode 2, which a vendor, it's very good because we can sell them to both mode 1 and mode 2, right? But you can use this for new applications or for your legacy applications, right? So if you think about automating legacy applications, and actually the word legacy is even something that bothers me, right? So let's say you buy a new car and you get home and you look at your old car, if they say this is my legacy car right now. It's not, right? It's just your car. It's the application running your business. But there are tools you can use to automate pretty much all functions, all IT functions of your business. I'm just giving the example here of Ansible, which was already had a presentation on this. And if you're talking about automating actually the application lifecycle on containers, you can use OpenShift for that, right? And if you happen to be here, maybe I think 4 or 5 months ago when Gene Kim presented, I talked a little bit on my session about the problem of anxiety and performance, right? And this is another point that's very important, which is this two professors at Boston University, they created this law that if you were doing more complex tasks, and if you were getting anxious about it, or excited or nervous, your performance is going to go down, right? So when your performance goes down, you see things like, oh my God, I need to roll back this database. I'm going to end up executing it in the wrong database. Oh my God, like I'm getting nervous. Like things have been out for a while. I need to fix this. I'm getting, let's say, anxious about it, and end up executing the playbook against the wrong region, and then things like the S3 outage happen. So this bothers me because we are not investing time in making complex tasks become simple. And this is important. If you are doing a simple task multiple times, this study also showed that as you get more anxious about it, your performance is going to keep increasing. The more you get nervous about something that you know how to do a lot, your performance is going to increase. The more you get let's say, excited about something, your performance increases. As if that task is unfamiliar to you, or it's a complex task, your performance is going to go down, right? And automation, if we think about IT automation, there are very great examples of people that are doing automation across multiple different types of environments, right? And this is actually a public reference, is the Schiphol Airport. They are using let's say, a very good example of hybrid cloud, in my opinion, because they have the same OpenShift cluster running in different data centers with nodes in different data centers. They also have different clusters in different data centers. But that essentially means that they can grow where it's cheaper for them. So today, AWS may be giving you a very good price. Today, your contract with your, let's say, virtualization provider or OpenStack it's a very good one, and you can just grow and more there. But tomorrow, that may not be the case, right? And you don't want to feel that you have to be using that same tool. So you want to have the freedom to choose and grow where you want. So for this case, it was very interesting, right? They use most of their apps today on Azure, but they have some apps on AWS. And if AWS starts giving them a better price, maybe a competition between two, they'll just be able to grow and locate those applications to where happens to be cheaper or better or more performatic or with the services that you want, right? So skip this. This is too technical. And I'm going to I'm about to end my session now. I promised Claude that will be 35 minutes. I'm about 32 right now. If you know, to 80% of the failures that we have today, they are caused by humans, right? Caused by humans that were likely doing complex tasks, unfamiliar, that could have been made simpler and thus not have caused them, right? So this is some things like we invest a lot in like, let's buy two. Let's buy two of storage. Let's have two of each. Let's have 2.5 of each. So let's invest a lot in hardware. Let's invest a lot in infrastructure. But we actually lack investing into automations and tools and process and creating the relationships between people to avoid it. So as you can see here, just by this example here, you could clearly have said, man, if I have invested maybe the same amount of money in processes and in implementing DevOps in my company, maybe I would have been better off by now, right? Because things don't fail as we often think, right? So I already showed the demo, right? A lot of things happen in my demo. And to finalize, how many of you know the story behind this name, right? And if you do, it's good. Pretend that you don't. So just pretend you don't know the story behind the name right now. Thank you very much. But the person that invented here, and I forgot the name, but actually failed 39 times. Can you believe this? That's what the name of the product is called, WD-40. It's a water displacement. It's the formula number 40, right? And it failed 39 times. And when I see this, I come back at the example of KeyBank. So KeyBank had a release cycle of 3 months. Every 3 months, they were putting a release out, right? Which is not bad. Like, I'm sure there are lots of companies that take more than 3 months to put a release out. But still on 3 months, let's just pretend we're all at 3 months. How many of you remember an email that you wrote 3 months ago? Or a text or anything? So one person. Good. Go one in like 100. So 1 out of maybe 200 remember, and yet we expect developers will remember the code that they wrote 3 months ago. Isn't that crazy? And we think it's okay. That is weird, right? So we think it's okay to come back 3 months after the developer wrote the code and say, you know this thing that you did here, like you need to fix that. And I say, okay, I will fix that. It is part of my job, but give me 3-4 days just to understand what I did, right? And it's the case, right? So for KeyBank, they saw, man, this 3 months for us being disrupted, it's not good. So they went from 3 months for a week, and for them, a week is good. For some companies, we have another example of a bank in Australia called Macquarie Bank. They can do it on the same day. Another interesting thing that they do, they have a rule that developers, on the same day, the very first day that they join the company as an engineer, they have to push code to production, right? The very same day. Of course, they prepared the code, they have things done so that it's not going to impact any core function of business. But they are publishing code to production in the same day they join. And you think like, that's actually not bad at all, right? If I can control, like say the technique they call the blast radius, or how things can go bad if we change, or how bad things would go, it's not a bad thing at all, right? But this only happened because the environment encouraged experimentation. So this is an important message. If took them, let's say, 6 months, because it's okay to see like projects failing after 6 months or a year. I've participated in a few myself. And this person here would have, like, say, maybe like 8 to 12 years to come out of this product. It was not the case. So in this thing, like all other industries, they are very used to environments that encourage experimentation. But for us, we have to get it right the first time. Isn't it crazy? Like, we have to get it right the first time. Oh my God, it's going to go live this date. We need to get it right. You are not going to get it right. You are not. Just assume this. Innovation does not come without experimentation. And if your environment is punishing experimentation all the time, it's impossible to innovate. It's just a fact. Innovation comes with experimentation. If it takes 3 months to know that you failed, or maybe 6, no way to innovate. It's not going to work. I would give up. If that's your case, I mean, I would just give up right now, you know? Or you change it or you give up. It's not going to work. Don't call yourself innovative then. Define another name, you know? And in this, for other examples here, so Velcro was invented as an accident. So a scientist, I forgot the name, was walking through a bunch of woods and saw the green burrs attached to his pants, like went to the lab, again, a lab, an environment that encouraged experimentation. It identified what was happening and then created Velcro. Same thing with microwave. Someone was walking with a chocolate bar in front of a vacuum tube like that emitted radio waves. The chocolate bar melted. They said, like, something happened here. I'm going to see what happened. Teflon was initially used to isolate inside the refrigerators as a substitute for the gas in the refrigerators. Again, they saw a different thing that happened, environment that encouraged experimentation, an invention that's important until today. Penicillin, a very used case. Alexander Fleming just left his lab for maybe a weekend. When he got back, said, oh my God, something happened here. There's something weird in my bread. Let's see what's going on. Penicillin was invented. Again, environments that encourage and not punish people when they try to experiment. And to finish, this is another very interesting use case. But no, it's so the pharmaceutical industry. It's the one that's like highly advanced with experimentation. Right? They do this. It's their business to do experimentation in all sorts of things. So when Viagra was first produced, it was a chest pain medicine. Right? So they discovered side effects for the Viagra, and they decided to pivot a little bit the marketing approach for the product, and it's a very successful product. So it is somewhat of a funny story, but we don't treat our environments as ones that encourage experimentation, right? And I strongly believe we should. So with that, that's what I wanted to tell you. I hope it was useful. So thanks very much.